A very good evening. मेरा नाम आरजे आमिर. Thank you so much for joining us on Nurture Life Talks. Today, I'm welcoming a very dear friend of mine. She's an academic, therapist, coach, visionary. She's an artist. She paints, she writes, and she does a lot many other things. Oh, she is also an entrepreneur. Hi, Runita. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Aamir, for calling, and it's been a pleasure. And it's like that one hour with your friend, looking for a good conversation ahead.
Yes, definitely. So, Runita के बारे में और बताते हैं आपको. So, she's got almost 2 decades of experience in higher education, research, and she's currently actually just completing her PhD in, AI. And she's into leadership development, mental wellness, and she's basically somebody who bridges science, soul, and strategy. I mean, the 3 things she brings together, and she's absolutely a wonderful person. She is the founder of Well Mindly and High Tide Solutions. So, Runita, let's begin. How did you end up? I mean, शुरुआत से शुरू करते हैं. कैसे तुमने कभी सोचा था कि you will be here doing all this?
No, absolutely not. It's just trusting the process. And it's like with everybody, when did we know, like 20 years back, what we want after 10 years, what we wanted 10 years before? How do we know what we want like after 10 years? So we never know. We all just actually explore uncharted territories and giving us an illusion of settlement and surety. It's never the case. So my journey as well was never nothing but linear, really. Like it was all about transformation, not just professionally, but like a lot of personal transformation. So yeah, so I started as an academic, and I was one of the youngest recruited lecturer for University of Bradford, actually program in Muscat. And I was very young when I started working for a university. And yeah, so grew up with my students. They were young, I was young, very easy to set up connections. And then things happen in your life and they put you on a different path. And then I was a very young mother. I was almost 20 when I was a mother. So we all just grew up together, and the journey actually really define the person. It's never what you want at a particular moment of time. And then things happen in your life and you think they're the worst, then something else happen, and then you think, okay, nothing worse, then something else happen and it breaks you apart. And that's where the light comes in. So yeah, a couple of years ago, I would have never thought that. I was very happy in my job, working with the students, highly engaged with research work. And of course, the therapy work was going on and my art journey was great. But coming back to India was not planned, but then things happened. I lost my mother, and in a very traumatic manner. And then, you go through certain experiences, realizations, further transformation. And then I'm here with my dad, and yeah, so that's where I am right now. And the idea of, like, you speak about the companies and the entrepreneurial journey, it's not really like entrepreneurial, like thinking about it in that way. I was just thinking that I was really living a very structured and settled life of academia, right from my early 20s. And that's the time when you do a lot of things. My friends were exploring, doing things, exploring life, trying many different, things in their lives and their careers. And I was like in a very settled job, raising a kid and living a very structured life. And so it was more about, exploring unknown, coming on to that, uncertainty, the excitement of uncertainty. And then the high-tech solutions also was formed basically to support young startup entrepreneurs. So we were incubating the businesses, helping them to transform their ideas digitally. And then Well Mindly, it's something that comes out from a very pure part of my heart and soul. And yeah, so that's where I wanted to reach people. And that also comes from, okay, we'll explore it in the conversation.
Yes, we'll explore it in the call. So, so 17 साल you is spent with the University of Bradford, and now you're getting a PhD in AI. So, how did you get interested in the intersection between education and intelligence, artificial intelligence technology, basically?
Now that's a good question. Actually, I don't look at it as an intersection. It's just things going parallelly together. See, I was
Mhm.
always my forte was tech, and the background was tech. So when the AI came, we sort of realized very quickly that this is gonna change things. There's this quote that says that. And there are decades when nothing happens, and then there are weeks when decades happen. So the AI's growth is like exponential. There was no way yet that you don't keep a pace with it. So either be with it or just get out. So AI has got massive potential. I really am not one of the person who's saying, oh, AI is coming and it's going to take jobs. Nothing like that's going to happen. I mean, I know that you and I, we both like philosophy. So it's like back in time when humans' hands were really full in trying to feed themselves. Nobody could really think about philosophy. It's only when their stomachs were filled and their hands were free, then they started thinking about perspectives and philosophical view for things. So it's exactly the same. I think uh, the processes must automate really, and that's when another revolution will start, where the human minds will be free to live their life to their full potential. What's the core of being a human being? Your creative expression. You come to innovation, come to problem solving, come to these kind of skills. Whereas the repetitive tasks and the automation is taken care by machines. And in education, definitely, education is a service industry. So it's very difficult to maintain the homogeneous nature of, like, if I give a lecture, it cannot be same, every time. And it cannot be different for each and every student. Whereas if you use AI in between, that makes the learning process customized to individual level, very adaptive for a student. So yeah, AI. But the thing is that, yeah, we should know the real usage of AI. Whenever we talk about AI, we have to talk about the ethical and intentional usage of AI, not just, yeah, like the students. When the students use ChatGPT to write their assignments, and I said, like, dude, you have got a tank and you're using it to killing mosquitoes. Don't do it. there is there's a way better stuff you can do. So yeah, massive potential of AI in education.
So,
And my
वो
PhD is
वाला
in applied AI, basically. So
okay.
we're using AI to exactly solve this problem, how we can make the learning more adaptive and how we can assess it for the organization development for higher education institutions. So yeah, very interesting area.
Nice. I think that is important. Yes, we cannot run away from AI. उससे भाग तो नहीं सकते because it's already here and it's only going to get more and more integrated into our daily lives. लेकिन वो वाला point मुझे पसंद है. मुझे I really like that point which says that कि humans will have time to focus on other things and automation will take care of the rest. जैसे for example food growing. So machines will do that and we'll not have to do it by hand or will not have to
Yeah.
invest अपने बहुत सारा energy उधर. But do you really think, I mean, I'm just getting into a little philosophical bound thing here. I didn't had this question earlier in my mind. कि humans by nature, they're very bored people. Species, okay? They absolutely bored species. They need a lot of stimulus all the time. और अगर positive stimulus नहीं मिलता है तो they get into the negative, but they want to be stimulated at any point of time.
Mhm.
So whether through even meditation is a stimulant. Let's not really this is something which I say that even meditation is a stimulant. और किताबें पढ़ना, नहीं तो खाना खाना, नहीं तो प्यार मोहब्बत कुछ भी, it's all just to stimulate your mind. So once they really have AI taking over most of their work and most of their tasks, especially the repetitive tasks, do you think they are going to go into more positive stimulants? I mean, they're going to go in a positive direction?
Yeah, it's a very good perspective. Then it comes back to the basic nature of human being. If you see, then it has nothing to do with AI or non-AI, like, uh, there's a very interesting thing in AI. We call it paperclip syndrome. And it's like, if you tell AI to make paper clips, then it'll start making paper clips. And when the metal will get over, it'll start using everything around to make paper clip until it uses everything in the world to make paper clips, and the world collapse. But it goes down, it all trickles down to the intention. Like when AI was made, when it perceived, conceptualized, the intention was positive, so it should grow in a positive direction. But the same thing comes to human being, the intentions. So if they
Mhm.
have to use their free time to express, to work on their creative expression, or to work on using the time to develop things they would have not had time to develop in themselves. But seriously, yeah, I mean, human nature you cannot find. If people will use the time in a, and you can see it now itself. There's so much. I mean, at university level, every single student busy cheating with GPT, and people are using generative AI to do things, and but it's nothing but a cheap mimicry, really. Like GPT and all, if you use for creative expressions, it's mimicking the human mind, but it's not really the human mind. Human mind has endless possibilities. And I don't think, yeah, but that's a very valid question, and I think it will remain unanswered. I don't want to put an answer to it, because it it's the entire history and the historical development is a testament to it, because we have been developing. AI is a part of development. I mean, the way internet developed, people like a generation before, they grew up without internet. Parents grew up with it. They would not expect something like this happening around them. It was a great thing. And so, but what happened? I mean, see, good and bad both haven't happened on internet. Like good, bad, and actually ugly happened on internet. So AI, it's nothing to do with AI. It's to do with the human psyche, human. It's being human and having the yin and yang always working with us. So that question,
True,
and I don't think that's gonna change. Yeah, you will see a balance of both good and bad, ethical and ethical, and there would be a race talking about ethics, and there would be people doing funny stuff. So, yeah, it's we only will see the worst and the best.
बट ऑटोमेशन के अलावा एआई का क्या है? आई मीन एक तो ऑटोमेशन हो गया, दूसरा मेडिकल साइंसेस हो गया, इन सब चीजों में एआई का रोल होने वाला है. बट
Mm.
व्हाट अदर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस आर यू लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू?
Like the good question is like where. Sometimes you say, okay, where it's going to be useful, but you should ask where it's not going to be useful, because that's hard to answer. Everywhere, pick up a case, and pick up a scenario, and you will see how AI it's gonna pitch in. It's basically mimicking the brains. So we had actually during COVID, I had one of our conference mate talking, and she had a vaccination campaign running, and she said, oh, I had the best team in the world, and she told four names of people, and Sarah and Aamir, and the four names, and she said, and they were the best colleagues, and then she said they all four were robos. And they were all operated by AI, because they would never talk about holidays. They were never tired. They never made any mistake. Like, oh, I was sleepy and I did this thing wrong. So that was the best team ever. I like my dream team. Always everybody showed on the time I wanted them to show. Nobody would like would be tired, and it was amazing. So everywhere where you need humans and where you need certain kind, even thinking, the thinking that's structured in nature, like
Mhm.
diagnosis, but and people were thinking actually in the beginning that it's the creative work that would go be affected at the end. But if you see, it's so interesting to see it was the creative work that actually started like changing the first, the people started using AI for writing and for copywriting, for writing books and all. But in the end, I think it's initial excitement. You could very easily gauge the patterns, and as the AI is learning, AI detection is learning as well. So I don't think it's gonna, yeah, it's not gonna not affect anything in human lives. But at the same time, innovation and the possibilities, the endless possibilities of human mind and emotions and creative expression, it's not gonna be, it can mimic Camus, it can mimic George Eliot, it can mimic Virginia Woolf. But I'm taking these names because I'm reading these people these days, so they're just on the top of my head. But it can mimic, but it cannot produce another Aurelius or another Kafka, or they came from their expression, creative expression came from a very poignant part of their lives and the way they lived their lives, the things they experienced, and that cannot be mimicked by AI. It can only be lived through. So that
Okay.
originality will not be there. Yeah.
So
Every
though
domain.
I want to talk something other than AI, but again a question popped up in my head. Would anybody really care? And I mean, seriously, would anybody really care if the song was written by AI or it was written by a human at the end of the day?
See, it's nobody would care, but how it's gonna impact you? It can come and it can go. Nobody would care. But can you see if you read Kafka, or if you
Mhm.
read, for example, Metamorphosis, the kind of the kind of helplessness, the kind of claustrophobia,
I
the
know,
kind of,
I get that. But
yeah,
I'll tell
you
you,
cannot.
way back when the new, I think ChatGPT was launched in 2022, 21, 21?
Yeah, around that
No,
time.
not not
The beta
21. I
version
think
was
22.
out in 21, yeah.
22, 22 yeah. So, okay, so I wanted to try it. So I asked it to write something, and it wrote something, and it was pretty decent. It was okay-ish, not good at all. I again asked it to write something recently, and it wrote really good. I mean, yes, there were problems. Yes, there were issues, but वो इश्यूज और वो प्रॉब्लम्स इसलिए आइडेंटिफाई हो रहे थे क्योंकि मैं मतलब जैसे यू आर देयर आई एम देयर सो पीपल लाइक अस हु आर एविड रीडर्स who know the writing styles
Uh,
इसलिए to me it was easy to spot okay कि हाँ ठीक है this is where it is going, this is where it is creating issues, this is where the problems are. But within 2 years it was like it's writing almost perfectly. I mean, 2 साल में तो it will be writing. I won't even know okay whether it's written by AI or it's written by Runita or Aamir.
yeah, it's true. But if you see, you see, the thing is that AI is learning as well. These are self-learning systems. So the more and more it's being fed, the more and more it's being polished, right? So you
Mhm.
will see, like the future is gonna amaze you, right? And that's where the humans will be challenged even more. Like now, what? But yes, a lot of it was taken care, would be taken care by AI, and AI is writing pretty well. But it's again, if you see, it's mimicking the human brain. It's not the human brain. So
So
yeah, I don't
let's
think.
hope.
Yeah, there's always, humans will always be a step ahead, and they actually have to challenge themselves. So that's also a great thing. Like, okay, now what? Like this is the level of AI generated stuff, So how can I go top notch, like a step ahead? So I think it's a good time. It's challenging time for humans to really test their own innovation, their own creative expression, go much deeper and bring something that was never seen. I think that's the responsibility that comes on creatives like you. You're a writer yourself and a very creative person. The responsibility come on people like writers and artists and creatives and the theatrical diaspora. These people, they have to bring something that's never been seen before or done before, like Salvador Dali's surrealism. It was so surreal. Who could think about that kind of stuff, yeah. So it's a
Okay.
great thing to see. It's very exciting that how the race, how humans gonna win, or if you're gonna live in a life of a sci-fi movie.
AI का डिस्कशन तो खैर बहुत लंबा होने वाला है. If we get onto it, so let's take up the other aspects. I mean, the other things which you do. So, from education, you then became a therapist and a neurotransformation coach.
Yeah.
So, how about that? And how do you help people, basically to overcome their inner blocks or whatever limiting beliefs they have?
Uh, See, first
Two
of all, it's
questions.
not
Sorry, I
from
come.
education. Yeah.
Yeah, please go on.
So it's not from education to a therapist. It's not like a transition. The things went parallelly on for a very long time, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But this comes from a very, I told you in the beginning, from a very pure and poignant part of my heart and soul, because my mother, I saw her. She was a scientist and exceptionally, she was a prodigy, and she suffered a depression all her life, unexplained fears, deep rooted fears, and it never really went. And it was my journey towards finding her answers, and I started studying, and then you so it was a parallel journey. So while I was working for universities, I was also practicing. I was a practicing therapist and a coach, and then lot of things came in between. I studied for a very long time, actually. Then I practiced with people for more than 200 hours. Then I finished my practice of more than 300 to 400 hours. So, and then actually I started, yes, now I can come and talk about things publicly. And actually, last 2 years, I had the counseling cell for my university for 2 years, and
Mm-hmm.
and that was like after my work. I was again a project just only for passion. And for Bradford, I ran their advising. I chaired advising for the entire university for many years. So it was always going together, but. Yes, I think it's really required, and it started from, and it's not impacting individual. You start by impacting your own life, understanding things around you, finding answers about your own self, and then you go and think of creating impact. So one life at a time, one dream at a time, I always say, and yeah, one project at a time. So it's how it helps. Hypnotherapy came very close to me because I am an ICF approved coach as well. But why hypnotherapy is really close to my heart, why it makes a lot of sense to me. Whereas I don't do it everywhere. A lot of coaching happens at places, But I think the real change is, Carl Jung, the psychologist, and
The
he said
philosopher, yeah,
the
psychologist, and
and yeah,
philosopher.
how do you say, he brings psychology, philosophy, spirituality, and arts all
All
together. So the magic
together.
mix, yeah, we need another big conversation for that. So what he said is, until you do not make your subconscious conscious, it will
Mhm.
run your life and you will call it your fate. It's a very profound statement, extremely profound statement. See, so our lives are, it's us at a conscious level, and it's our shadow, that's been formed since you were in your mother's womb, which is conditioned by society, which has been taught a lot of things, societal, religious, a lot of conditioning has happened, and a lot of trauma, a lot of experiences, your entire childhood, you're carrying it with you, and that forms your shadow. So, you go and do thing at a conscious level, that this is what you're doing, but there's somebody who's constantly walking with you, dragging you back or stopping you for doing things, or pushing you to do things you don't want to do, or stopping you from doing things you really want to do. So
Mhm.
hypnotherapy is a very beautiful space of learning and unlearning, where you can go into your yeah, you can connect with your deeper self and make really lasting changes. You can fix things at a root level, and you wake up next morning and you just say, yeah, something feels better. So NLP is neurotransformations are great, because it's all about how you train your mind with verbal and non-verbal language patterns. But I think,
Mhm.
again, in my modality, what I use a lot of that language in my hypnoscripts. So when they work at a deeper level, that's where the magic happens. That's where, like, wow, something changed, because your conscious mind has a tremendous capability of really, like, ruling things out. It can I can fight you with logic at a constant at a conscious level. So whatever you do at a conscious level can be totally negated by subconscious. Yeah. And the coaching is more about, like, helping you find your own dreams, your own answers, asking right questions, putting you into reflective mode, and very powerful tools, actually, really, really powerful tools. And the idea behind Well Mindly was that, to make it accessible. Like, I see so many people, and I think it's a crime not living, a human being make, against themselves, like not living their life to their full potential. So that's a crime. Human life is precious. It's so rare, and you are here, and it's a crime you commit against yourself if you don't live it to your full potential. And these things can really, a small intervention can just change entire thing. It just starts from within, and it just heals and changes everything. And yeah, so
So you spoke about well mindly. So what space are you? I think that's a platform where you want to make therapy really accessible. So
yeah.
what other gaps are you trying to fill in today's mental health space?
You see, entrepreneurial initiatives are either solving a problem, filling a gap, or following a trend. And I think Well Mindly is all three. It's filling a gap, following what's been required, and also solving some problems, deep rooted problems. Um, see, first of all, when I moved, my moving back to India was not on my cards just a year and a half before. It was a very quick decision, extremely um, emotional, existential, and intentional, where one day you just decide, okay, I have to let it go, and I came back. And so a lot of my clients were there, and the therapies were in between. And the idea was how to do it, because I was always in face to face and physical sessions. I was not doing a lot of online stuff. I had my clients with whom I was working every even weekday evenings and every weekend. So when I came, I started giving them a lot of online sessions, and they work really well. And then I just thought that, okay, that's where actually technology intervened as well. You see, that's where your technology and your intentions, your therapy, and your creative expression, it all comes together. So
Mhm.
uh, we are, so I'm developing this platform where we are a set of coaches and a set of therapists and who come with their own specialities, and there are assessments where AI will intervene, where the AI will assess and assign the right therapist to people. So the gaps, coming back to the question, is like finding the right kind of therapist. Maybe you're suffering from something where normal face-to-face therapy at a conscious level will not help. And the things like trauma, deep-rooted issues, fears, phobias, unexplained, or inner child work, childhood traumas. That's where you need a clinical hypnotherapist who can intervene, right? If you're suffering from ADHD, you need a CBT specialist. You're going through clinical depression, chronic depression, you need a clinical psychologist. So there are different people who are required. So one of the biggest gap is finding the right kind of therapist. So soon the platform will be on. So you will see there are a lot of questionnaires. When you fill, you will automatically be assigned. The algorithms will assign you the right kind of therapist. So it's not like you need something else and you're going somewhere else and wasting your time. I mean, I have so many case studies to tell you, but it's a short talk. So where people were trying something for years and years and years, and the 2 sessions of something else made the entire change. So that's where the technology and the facility you want to create really made a change. And then the other gap is accessibility. So finding the right therapist and also finding where you are. How many of, like, working in for Muscat University, ran their 2 years running their counseling cell. By the end of my working in that part of the world, and there were so many girls, they were not allowed to see therapists, and they were just so grateful that they had accessibility in the campus where they could come and access therapy. And the girls came from so many different walks of lives and different experiences, and some of them were simple, some of them were like horrifying and really, really painful, heart-wrenching cases. And so it's available for you. If you are somewhere and you need it, it's accessible wherever you are. So finding right kind of therapist, getting making it accessible where you are. You don't have to go, you don't have to see, you don't have to find, or you're in a small city, or you're in a country where therapy is like not very encouraged. You can always just come and on a click on your phone, on your computer, in a corner, you can access that facility. And third is also reachability. So how far therapy can reach, in those parts of the world where, yeah, it's not. I come from that kind of place where the therapy was supposed to be like a big no, a taboo. And even in India, if you see people, you talk about mental wellness and people, are you crazy? Oh, leave it, it's all stupid, and come and let's watch a movie and so they all just undermine you all the time. So yeah, finding right therapists, reachability, accessibility, and the fourth pillar was awareness, and I'm trying to do it, like because it comes from a very intentional part of me. So whatever I know, I want to put it out all there, so that I'm just started an Instagram page also where I'm answering some existential questions. Just recently, I finished collecting questions from a lot of people, putting a lot of free answers there now. So from next week, there will be a Q&A series. Like, I've gathered around 50, 60 questions from people, and they all from there. So one question asked can actually help many other people too. So I'm going to answer them. Awareness is also the key. So all these are big gaps, where I want to make a difference and impact. Let's see how it goes. Very excited.
Talking about those questions, what are the most common emotional या mental challenges जो आज के professionals या students face कर रहे हैं?
See, it's a very big question, but I can tell you on my tips. But if you see, questions for students are different, for professionals are different, homemakers are different. older people are, women are different, men are different. You would see a lot of women would talk about relationships, finding meaning in relationships. But one of the questions that really supersedes every other question is the purpose of life.
Mm-hmm.
What's the purpose of life? I think humans, even if they live in this kind of world, uh, they, they want to live. I think we were discussing this. I think that the book you took, the Badal Sarkar's play, where Baki Itihas, where the excerpt says that सब मेरी तरह जहर खा के या फांसी लगा के आत्महत्या नहीं करते हैं. What about उन लोगों का, हजारों लोगों, लाखों उन लोगों का क्या जो बस बिना कुछ कहे, बिना कुछ बोले एक दिन जीना बंद कर देते हैं. So a lot of humans are not living. We just living dead bodies. So ये question बहुत आता है हमारे पास कि what's the purpose of life? Yeah, that's one thing that, okay. Suffering pe questions bahut aate hain. I have actually seen, while answering questions and putting the things out there, a lot of people are asking more existential questions. And that's where I see a lot of hope in humanity. Though you see people living this automated lives and, just busy in their mundane work and, living a very structured life. But suddenly you see, when I go and see my post, suppose, so the maximum views are for these kind of questions, where people are talking about existence. They are being clicked more on, and that gives me like this immense hope and happiness, and where you see some light, where you see a little seed, and that no, people do want to know, people do want to talk about purpose. It's just the society, the conditioning, the kind of responsibilities and the morality, actually. Really, I'm very against. Okay, these are sensitive things, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I feel,
You can
yeah,
say.
like
You
people,
can say.
yeah, this fake morality is like, people are, a lot is stuck in the moral values, and inside, when you want to express yourself creatively and, go and see the nuances of your own personality, you really feel constrained by society, morality, and these kind of concepts do not sit really well, I think, well, with any artist or writer. I don't
Any
know.
thinker for that
Okay.
matter. So, okay. So one thing we didn't touch upon. You're also a single mother. We did touch. I mean, you just briefly mentioned it. So you're a single mother.
Yeah.
So although being a single parent is obviously something which is very difficult to manage. So I'll not get there, but I'll ask you to what message would you want to give to any single parent?
Any single. I think there's nothing such as, it's just parenting.
Okay.
And I think single parenting is a lot glorified these days. There is a value of having both male and female perspective on the child. It's good to have a family. It's beautiful to have a balanced relationship in the house, where child grow with a lot of safety. But actually, if you talk about, it's not, there's nothing such as good or bad or single or not single, or double pair. It all comes down to being present, being present for your child. And it's not easy. It's not easy, because you cannot, but it's worthwhile, and it also shapes you as a person. It teaches you so much. And I'm just talking about a parent, not a single or a double, just a parent. Because you
Mhm.
cannot watch TV, and like in Indian households, we've often seen our fathers watching match and say, oh, go and study. It never happens. They are seeing you, watching you, learning from you, from your actions, what you do in your life, not from your words. So you see your kids grown up, and you realize suddenly that They have heard you way more than you have told them. So you have to live a kind of life where you're fully present. So if you want your child to read, you have to read every night. If you want your child to write, you have to do a lot of written communication, you know. If you want your child to thrive in a kind of creative environment, you have to create that creative environment. You can't have a totally mindless life and think about your kid like, okay, put him in an art class, put him in a music class. We will just do things, but it takes a lot. It's a big project. Yeah, and it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot, but also there's nothing to glorify about being a single parent. It's a nice journey. We grew up together. I was a very very young parent, and yeah, I did do a lot of intentionals. Used to make notes all the time until I read Donald Winnicott's research, which says like, you know, this good enough parenting, good enough. Good enough is good enough. You know, you really don't have to go that far. So yeah, but it's also good to have an entire family. It's a beautiful thing to have a family, and of course you can't fill in, but yes, you can do a great job just by yourself. It's much better also. So okay, on the other side, it's much better to have one sane parent than two insane. So
Killing each other. That is true. That is actually true. It's better one sane parent than two driving each other nuts.
yeah. So yeah, it's
I really agree with that.
about being present. Yeah.
So, did being a parent also influence your coaching, mentoring, leadership style, empathy?
I think, you know, you are one, Amir. Seriously. People just say that, oh, he's a very good, he's a bad worker, but a great father. Oh, he is, you know, he's a great husband, but a bad father. It's not, we are really one person. We carry every part of us everywhere. You know, so
Mhm.
whoever you are will impact in every domain. It's like many to many relationship. It's not one to many relationship or many to one or one to one relationship. It's really a matrix, you know, where every part of you is going to impact every part of you. You know, so whoever you are, so if take your writing, you know, you write and you're writing absolute fiction narrative, and a lot of you will reflect in a lot of that fiction narrative. It will never go, and that creates a unique style. So I think the way you do parenting, or if you are a parent, you know, single or together, it's going to impact definitely, and it opens up the part of you, the patience you learn, and the unconditional job. Like you owe everything to your children. They don't owe anything to you. They can do things out of love, but you brought them to the world. They didn't ask you. So of course it impacts everything. It's not only being a single parent or a parent. Everything you are, everything you've done, every role you have lived, every experience you went through, every place you traveled, you know, every
Hmm.
conversation you had, it forms who you are, and it's going to impact everything else you do. And yeah, but I know there are a lot of single mothers and who are doing a great job, and you asked if you're going to say something. I mean, yeah, they're not alone. There's so many. It's not you sometimes go through stuff and you think, okay, it's tough, but a lot of people are doing. You're not alone, and a positive thing that you should always know that your dreams are valid. Sometimes we are so invested, and it's not a good example you actually put in front of your children too. So if you're a single parent, you have to live. You can only give what you have. So you have to fill yourself with a lot of fulfillment, a lot of dreams, a lot of possibilities, and then only you can give it to pass it on to. You cannot live a sad, timid, constrained life of a typical single single typical image of a single parent, and think of your kid go and thrive and live this free life in this world. No, you have to live a life. Your life is a testament, and you can only give what you have. So you are not alone, and your dreams are valid. You should find ways to do what you want to do. To yeah, and you should do what you want your children to do. If you want them to be happy, you have to be happy. If you want them to play music, pick up an instrument. If you want them to read, go and read the best books. Fill your house with beautiful literature. And yeah, if you want to hang out with good writers, then only your children will see that company. Bring that company into your home. Otherwise, they will not. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot
Very
of
true.
outer stuff which can raise your children. So before they raise, you raise them. Yeah.
Very true. That is actually very true. So, as far as you are also a artist, I mean, you're an artist as well. You paint.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what specific question to ask there, but I think what I would really want to know, uh, what catches your fancy? I mean, how do you decide what you're going to paint? Anything that comes to your mind, you see something that clicks. Is it like how we write? Because I have never painted
Exactly.
in my life. Yeah.
Oh, we should do it sometime. See how it goes. I've done a lot of art retreats for a lot of
Uh-huh.
people where, yeah, we took them through a process and helped them bring whatever they wanted to transform in a visual identity. And then they worked really, really well. Creative art therapies are quite talked about these days, and I've done a lot. I've done art therapies with autistic children too, and it amazes me. Um, yeah, I think because you see, the human life sums up to some very simple things such as self-reflection, mindfulness, and creative expression. Every human has something to say. And until they do not, and you can choose your creative path. Some people write, some people speak, some people do storytelling, some people paint. And when it comes to your creative expression, it's a very profound and a very deep thing in this ever changing, complex, and dynamic world. It roots you in some kind of expression that you cannot verbalize or say. You either write or you paint, or you choose, or you do mold a beautiful sculpture or do whatever. So uh, art was always in me, and I think a creative expression is something that it stems from within. And as an artist, I think we should take creative. I actually really like your question when you says that what comes in your mind when you start something. Nothing. It's just exploring your uncharted territories. And while making a painting, it also answers a lot of existential questions too, like what to do, where to start, and where to stop. When you are painting, when do you know it's complete? When do you know where to stop? You're painting and you're working on the layers and layers, a little here, a little there. This is missing, that is missing, this is not looking good. It cannot be a perfect picture. So how do you know where to stop? And that's something is very intentional. That's where you see that when you're working on something, there comes a point when your painting becomes alive and it starts talking to you. And is it not like in writing, Aamir? You write, you edit. How do you know where to stop editing? Because there comes a point when you know, no, it's talking to you. What do you want to say now? Exactly the same thing it's telling you. And then you stop and then you put it out for the world, for their interpretation, where it's no more your work, it's no more your expression. And now it's out there in the world for people to feel less lonely. I want to say something and I see this beautiful piece of art and work of art, and I say, it stirs some emotions. Sometimes you see a very beautiful art, you start crying. Sometimes there is this bunch of flowers, blooming in front of you, and you see the human strokes, and you just think that, oh, this is so beautiful.
Yes.
And to me, I'm very close to an art movement called post-war abstract expressionism, and it's where people went formless. And a lot of time modern art is being abused by saying, and when I paint for exhibits, I do a lot of realistic work too. Otherwise, a lot of people would just come and say, but if I would set free, I would go totally formless, like something that people have not seen. Art give us that liberty where you can be whatever you want. You can see the world they want, the way you want. And also you show something to the world that world has never seen before. That's something. Otherwise, now there's photography. If I want to capture you, I'll click a picture. Why do I replicate you in a realistic portrait? Rather, I would work on your portraiture, where I bring the inner Aamir out in a way which amazes you. Oh my God, this is me. So that is very close to my heart, where art transcend the boundaries of being in a certain structure, where artists, these New York School of Art, there was a group of artists from New York School of Art, and they challenged art. They just said, art for art's sake. We're not going to serve anything through art. It's just the beauty we want to say, and that's where the psychological aspect, you see. So nothing is really different. So art's so close related to psychology, therapy. I'm using AI, and it's all really intervened. So people think they're very diverse, but if you look at some kind of initiatives, you see everything's coming. It's a big symbiosis, of a lot of things together. And yeah, there's no art such as bad art. I tell everybody should do something.
Okay. So, all right. Let's get down to the very last of it, because we are already covered a lot of territory today. But there's so many questions still left that I really want to ask you to talk about, basically. So, okay, let me just, we need to stop somewhere. So, एक काम ये करते हैं. What does you, I mean, we spoke so much about everything. I mean, we talk about the mind, we also spoke about the heart, and we kind of spoke about the soul as well.
Mhm.
So, what does the alignment mean to you when we say कि heart, mind, or soul का एक alignment? And if somebody wants to go on that journey.
Mm. It's a big question, and it's a very simple question. If you ask
Uh-huh.
just one thing, that whose mind, whose body, whose soul, and who is asking this question?
Right. Okay.
So we,
But that's okay. Go ahead,
yeah.
please. You're going to say something.
No, I know you're on a quest too. You're a very spiritual person yourself, Palmer, and we would need we can sit like for hours and hours talking about what's truth, what's reality, and what's not. Uh, Mind, body, and soul. I mean, people always talk about things like as if they are not. They are somewhere ahead, isn't it? So
Mhm.
they will not look at, like, even with the GPS, if you want to go to point B, it asks your current location. So in us, we never see where we really are. So whenever we ask these questions, mind and body and spirit and all these kind of questions, they go, who is asking these questions? Whose mind? Whose body? Everything trickles down to one thing: the study of self. Who am I, and what am I doing? Really. So I always say that if you don't understand what's happening, look at the patterns in your life. If you don't know the patterns, look at the emotions in your life. If you don't understand the emotions in your life, just see what you're doing right now, So it's the process of negation. There's no really one answer of how you align these things up. It's a journey, it's a process, and the only way out is through. You walk your life. You see the transformation, that you're going through. Understand, ask these questions, very profound. Who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Just this head on, brutal conversation with your own self. And yeah, not avoid. We never see where we actually are. We always see where we want to go. So how I'm going to align my mind, body, and soul? Who wants to align mind, body, and soul? You know, what, where is mind? What's soul? These are abstract concepts. Have you seen your mind? So you have to sit with your life and do this brutal conversation. Zariah Montaigne say in a poem that I want you to betray the entire world, but not to betray your own self. So it's for me, asking this question is a lot about dodging. Okay, how do we do this? And you very rightly started with a great thing, like meditation is also a distraction. And I always say it's also like I believe in meditation, but to show you a glimpse of where you can be. But if that's so beautiful, why you leave that state? I can be meditative while talking to you. Why I use meditation as a painkiller. My life is, everything's wrong in my life, and I sit 20 minutes so that I can go back in that wrong life with some peace of mind. So if your introspection in that 20 minutes is not changing the rest of your 23 hours, 40 minutes, then that 20 minute, what's the use? You have cancer and you're taking painkillers. Yeah, these are deeper questions. So yeah, the knowledge
So
of
we'll
self,
not
come
go
back to
that
self.
deep right now. So,
Yeah.
okay, my last question to you. What one message would you want to leave, I mean, give out to the people right now?
One message. Yeah, I think I would say the same thing, that the only way out is through, you know. We always say, like, karne se hi hoga. Without doing, you cannot. The small actions you can take, anything you want, even asking very big existential questions in life, uh, you have to come in this head on collision with your life, where you take that challenge and you face it, not just sit and think. And just the only way out is through. You have to go through things to understand. You have to go through pain to understand pain. You have to go through ecstasy to see what ecstasy is. You have to go through, experience everything. Yeah. And yeah, read and travel.
Thank you so much, Runita. That was amazing. Thank you. You took out time. I know you don't do podcasts. This is the first podcast that you agreed to, and I hope that it was okay. You don't क्या कह रहे second doubts नहीं आ रहे अपने इस decision को लेकर, because you kept on telling me I really don't do podcasts. I really don't do podcasts.
Yeah, I told
I'm
myself
glad
it's a
that,
conversation with my friend.
but
That's how
I hope it was good enough.
yeah, like every time we meet, our conversations are always great. And so this is another great conversation. A lot of
Thank you
things
so
when
much.
you say, you tell that to yourself too.
It was lovely having you over, and thank you so much for taking out time. So we'll see you sometime again. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thank you, Amir. Bye bye.
Bye. And as for the rest of you, we'll be catching up next Sunday. कल रुनता के पास time नहीं था, so we are doing this today. Otherwise, we meet up on Sundays normally, 8 p.m. So We'll meet up again next Sunday. Until then, have a lovely week ahead. Bye bye and good night.
Ciao.
Good night.